So welcome to my review of Dragon Quest XI on the PlayStation 4. Now, I gotta say to begin with, we've come a long way with the Dragon Quest series when I think back 30 years ago when I played the original Dragon Quest 1, which was titled, at the time, Dragon Warrior 1, up to now to Dragon Quest XI. Now, I couldn't wait. Last year, I imported the Japanese version and played quite a bit into that. And I loved it. I gave some first impressions of it. And the one thing I want to say about this review, and I can't stress this enough, and I've done a lot of thinking about it, I'm going to show gameplay from the first few hours only. Obviously, no story spoilers at all. I talked to my wife about this. She's been the one who's been playing this game full on. We're at 80% through the game. We're just doing some final quests, getting ready to do the final thing in the game. And we were discussing it that a lot of the enjoyment and excitement in this game is discovering new areas, walking into a town for the first time, walking into a city for the first time, being blown away by brand new enemies and things like that. And that to me is the excitement of this game. When we were playing it in the other room and we come to a new city, I'd be in awe and I'd be like, oh my god, look at this, look at that, check this out. And a whole bunch of other things, like some of the character animations in battle, some of the spells, some of the combination spells. I don't want to ruin those, so I'm going to be very, very careful just to talk about the overall game and the gameplay mechanics without ruining anything. Anyways, let's get right into it. How are the graphics in this game? Well, I played every single Dragon Quest game, and I can say without a doubt, the easiest thing in the world to say, these are the best looking graphics of any Dragon Quest game ever made. They've really done an amazing job here. Really, with the characters, the motion capturing on these characters is beautifully done. Obviously, they're anime-inspired character designs, but they come to life and feel really real with some of the motion capturing they do. The environments in this game are huge and expansive and detailed and gorgeous to look at. Every new place we were going to, I was in awe, and that's something very important to say. This is a medieval-style JRPG world, but the one thing that they've done here, which really blows my mind, is every single new area you go to has its own theme. So some themes are very European, some themes are very Asian, some themes are very Italian in design and aesthetics. They've really gone the extra mile to give all of these places their own distinct feelings and environments and characters, and they've done an amazing job with that. A lot of the classic Dragon Quest monsters are back, and some new additions as well. And when you think about this series as a 30-year whole, going back to the very first few and seeing the progression of the animation and designs of the characters in combat, we've come a long way, folks, going from the sprites of the past to some of the 3D models that were brought in with 8 and 9 to this. This is the pinnacle of monster animation in the Dragon Quest universe. I've been nothing short of blown away by every single random encounter, even the small ones, even just seeing slimes jump in and fight you. They are incredibly well animated. The thought process on bringing these characters to life has been done amazingly well. And some of the innovations with this game aren't only in the animation and graphical look, it's in the gameplay and the way you interact with your game world. So in this game, you can jump. So you can jump onto different ledges and things like that. You can climb ledges, you can climb ropes, you can crawl under things. There's a lot of ways to interact now, rather than just running through and getting into random combat, which was the old ways of doing things in Dragon Quest. I really like that they're trying to do a lot of new things through the gameplay. And one of the new additions is the travel mechanics. Yes, later on in the game, there's different modes of travel through ships, but one of your main modes of transportation, which is a lot of fun and is very, very smooth and very, very easy to control, is the horse. Yes, you get a horse in this game for the first time in a Dragon Quest game, and it allows you to go through the game world with a different pace, so you can speed up your horse, which is really, really good. And another thing to note is when you are on the horse, you can knock over enemies, so that's always a lot of fun to do. But it's not only the horse that is fast, you can also dash in this game, which is such a great thing. So you just hold down the right 2 button and you dash, so you can run through certain levels and run past certain enemies. And that's something to say, is that the enemies you can always see in the game world. So no matter when you're in the field, you'll always see them spread off into the distance, and you can get on the horse, either go through them and bash them out of the way, or just run and dash through them, or do the smart thing and fight them and level up, because you need the experience in these types of games. And spread throughout this world are statues where you can save at any point, and usually by those statues are campfires, and you can set up a camp for the night, you can rest and replenish your energy. And another part of the game as well is through the field settings, there are ores to collect, and you can use those for different things, and that leads us to the fun size forge. Yes, this is a new addition in the game. It's very reminiscent of the alchemy pot from the last games. And for anybody who's forgotten what that was, it was a pot in the older games where you would put ores and different items in, and it would create brand new items for you. Stronger weapons and armor and such like that. Where this is called the Fun Size Forge. This is a brand new item. And why it's better to me than the alchemy pot. The alchemy pot, you just put items in, you go take off for a while and wait. Where this one has an interactive phase in there. So you want to kind of bring up the gauges on both sides and create brand new weapons. You're not just idly sitting back and watching it happen. Now we get into combat, and for anybody who's ever played a Dragon Quest game, you know that combat is the meat and potatoes of this game, and it's really shining bright in this one. This is some phenomenal combat, not just in its aesthetic look, which is unbelievable, but the gameplay mechanics. There's a couple of different camera modes. There's classic camera mode, which I personally prefer, which has static held shots, where there's also the free roam camera mode as well, where you can move the camera around and move your character around during combat. As I say, I like the classic combat. It reminds me of past games, but there's options there for either way. So like past Dragon Quest games, you can use your weapons to attack enemies and use spells as well. So these are a staple of the series. That's nothing new. But what is new to the combat is the pep power up. So when you get hit enough in combat, you will build up your pep power, and when it builds up enough, you'll glow blue. You can do combo attacks. So if more characters are pepped up in combat, you can do combo attacks together. So those are some devastating and interesting attacks. From combat, obviously you gain experience, but you also gain skill points that you can use on your character to build up certain strengths and attributes. So say you're working on the sword, your sword attacks, you can use those skill points to build up those points on the sword to unlock certain abilities with that sword. So here's the really great thing about this. Say you spent all your skill points on sword abilities, and then you get a great sword and you're like, damn, I wish I didn't spend all the points on the sword. You can transfer all the points onto the sword or other weapons, so you can't really make mistakes. And to note, you have 4 party members in combat. You can also have an NPC on the side casting spells or helping out, and you can switch other characters in. And something else I will touch on, there's certain enemies that are glowing, and when you defeat them, you can ride these creatures. Yes, you can ride them throughout the level. And I'm not going to show you, trust me, it's more fun when you discover these things, and they let you traverse around the level in some different ways. I will say that much, but it kind of shakes things up in the traveling aspect. Now, I have to mention story, but I'm not going to mention story. I'm going to kind of glide my way around this without ruining anything. Honestly, this is about a main character who has a certain tattoo mark on his hand, and he has to find out through his friends and through himself and through the world who he is and what his place is in the world. What I can talk about is the charm here. This has all of the charm with the characters that Dragon Quest VIII had. You know, remember Dragon Quest VIII had some really memorable characters, And how is it into this game? It's really good. The one thing I will say is that we get to delve into each one of these characters' storylines and find out about their past. So when they are in your party and you're running around the world or you're in combat, you have a deep investment into these characters. You know them and you really like them. And that is some of the charm with Dragon Quest. Those characters really, really come to life, and they certainly do in this one. Okay, we got to talk about sound and music. How's the sound? The sound is really good. Obviously, we have a throwback to the classic sounds of Dragon Quest, opening doors, running downstairs. I love those. They're so nostalgic. They will never get rid of those. Those are in every single game. That's what makes Dragon Quest Dragon Quest. Okay, how about the music? The music is classic Dragon Quest, from the combat music, which is really good, to cavern music, to field music. You'll be very, very happy. If you're a fan of past Dragon Quest music, you will feel very at home here. The music is excellent. And also something we get in this version of the game that even the Japanese did not get, we get voice acting. Isn't that something else? I was getting ready to do this review and I realized, in going back into the Japanese game, there's no voice acting. It's all text. The Japanese with this game really enjoy some of the aspects of that, having some of the characters quiet, where Western audiences, we're used to, obviously, voice acting. And how is the voice acting here? I'll be dead honest. I have always preferred Japanese voice acting with subtitles when I'm playing video games, if I can get that option. Sometimes I'm always cringing at some voice acting in games. I can honestly say in this game, they've done a really good job. And that's something, the budget is behind this game, and it comes through with the voice acting of the characters, but not only of the characters, but of the monsters. Even the monsters' sound effects. Really something else. Sometimes when they're speaking to you, some of the boss characters in the game, you're like, wow, this is really something else. They've really done an amazing job here. And I like the voice acting. Obviously, it's got that ye old English going on there.
Here's my little soldier. I hope he wasn't too much of a bother, Gemma dear.
Of course not. Quite the opposite, in fact. You would have been proud of him.
And it's fitting and it's funny. And some of the Scottish characters in the game, that's all I'll say, are really fantastic. You might realize at this point in the review, I really like this game. I really like this game. Is it perfect? It's very close for me. It's very, very close for me. This is a top tier JRPG for the PlayStation 4. It's right up there with Persona 5 and Final Fantasy 15. And Dragon Quest sits right next to that as the top tier on the PS4. I'm telling you, I think this is probably the best looking Dragon Quest game, JRPG, I have ever seen. I am just blown away by this. But it's also the gameplay and the flow and everything comes together really well. Is the game absolutely perfect? No, sometimes when you're coming around a corner, you'll see enemies pop up, far off into the field. Or sometimes when you spin the camera around, you'll get a bunch of trees in your face. But that's very, very small. My other small nitpick would be, I don't love the character designs of this one as much as I do past games, say just for the main character. But honestly, these are small nitpicks. This is more of me being a connoisseur of the last 30 years of Dragon Quest and saying, oh, I like Dragon Quest 6 characters more than I say like these characters. That's such a stupid thing. That's just for me being a fanboy of the series. I think these characters look really great. The characters and personalities are what shine through here. And that's what I got to take into consideration there. This, for me, as you know, my favorite in the series is Dragon Quest VIII and, nostalgic-wise, Dragon Quest IV. These are my two favorite games. How does this stack up? Okay, Dragon Quest IV is still my most nostalgic Dragon Quest game, but I'm going to say something here. I like 11 more than 8 now. And that's not taking anything away from 8. 8 is an incredible game. I urge all of you to play this as well. But for, they've surpassed everything. I remember when 8 came out, it was the first time we saw the game in full 3D by level 5 at the time, and I was just blown away by the game. I was like, wow, where they've taken all the graphical aesthetics and they've done it to the ends of the earth, man. I mean, I really want to really get into detail about all of the things that I've seen in this game, but that would ruin the game for you, and that's what I will not do. As I said in the beginning of the review, I just want to show everything and ruin everything and say, oh my god, this happened, and when you walk into this house and you see this character doing this, I mean, there's so much that they've done with this game. This is a huge budget game. They put everything into this, and honestly, I sit here now in the year 2018 wondering, how are they gonna, in the future, make Dragon Quest better than this? At this point, through the cartoony graphics that they've gotten so perfect in this one, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I can't wait to see. But right now, this game is near perfection for me. And take into consideration that I'm a heavy, huge Dragon Quest fanatic. Okay, so I really lean into the Dragon Quest world quite a lot. But I gotta say, this for me is a 9 out of 10. I am so blown away, even a 9.5. This is a beautiful game, beautiful playing game. There's so many quests to do. There's so many side quests. There's so much to do in any given city. Like, running through one city, you're passing so much stuff to do a certain point, and you're looking around, you're like, oh my god, there's that over there, and I gotta come back to that. There's a lot here, folks. This is an 80-hour to 100-hour game if you do everything in the world. And we're still doing the last few quests of the game to go to the end of the game right now, but we're absolutely loving it. And happy Dragon Quest Day for all of you guys. I can't wait for you all to play this game. It's been a pure pleasure, absolutely. So anyways, guys, until next time.